comic books, movies, TV, and more. Nerds are everywhere. It's time to assemble! It's Nerds United.
Hello and welcome to a brand new Nerds United on YouTube. My name is Greg Mahochko. I am your host. Joining me, as always, is the co-host of the year, Mike Luther. Hello, Mike.
Hello. By the way, Greg, I was just thinking, when we put this out on YouTube, I don't think our names show up. I don't think so, because whenever, maybe it does. No, but I don't know. Who knows? But people might be confused by our names.
Oh, jeez. I was trying to take my last name off.
I know. I put it on. I'll change it maybe. Hold on. Before we started recording, we were talking about stuff, and we won't talk about what we were talking about because it spoils stuff. But one question I was thinking in my head was, what's the difference between Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie? Because I have those in my head as the same show, or interchange.
So Bewitched, Samantha Stevens is actually married to Darren Stevens, and they have a family. Whereas in I Dream of Jeannie, Jeannie is just the genie. She lives in the lamp. I think she is kind of infatuated with her master. I'm not going to be able to remember his name. My apologies to all of you I Dream of Jeannie enthusiasts here in 2021. There might have been like a little bit of an attraction, but I don't know if they ever like acted on it. But I would say that's the biggest. Well, and also I Dream of Jeannie. Jeannie this was her like way to execute her magic. Whereas in Bewitched, it was little
without her finger.
Twitch. Yeah. Yes. I don't know how she did that.
She maybe she could just do it.
That's I'll figure what because there's not. Okay. Disclaimer: I'm not a medical professional, but I mean it's like the muscles in your face that draw your nose up, like scrunch your nose. I don't think your nose itself has any muscle in it to be able to have that type of articulation.
Okay, now was that in Bewitched or I Dream of Jeannie? Because I forgot already. The nose thing.
Bewitched.
Okay. I'm going to look it up right now. I know this is riveting YouTube, but it's better YouTube than in a podcast when we look stuff up. But I want to see, how did Bewitched do the nose thing? And that's literally what I'm typing in.
How did Bewitched do the nose thing?
Google knows what I'm talking about all the times.
I should have asked Siri or maybe Cortana, depending on what type of phone you have. I don't know. While Mike looks that up, we hope that you had a great last week. We are here with another exciting topic of conversation for you. And as Mike continues to search for the answer, Mike has the answer.
So it says you have to wriggle your upper lip and then your nose. What Greg is doing. I'm not doing that because I see how it looks. But what Greg is doing. All right, sorry. Go ahead. What are we talking about today on the YouTubes and the podcast, if you want to tell people what we're talking about on the podcast, too?
On the podcast, we're going to be talking a lot about Cobra Kai and a little bit about a few other things. So if you've watched season 3, if you're all caught up on Cobra Kai, go to jitterymonkey.com and find the newest episode of Nerds United, or wherever you enjoy all of your favorite podcasts, like My 1, 2, 3 Cents, the podcast, and Positive Cynicism, and other podcasts.
I'll even make it.
Still Up All Night. Some other good podcasts there from friends of ours in the old podcasting family tree. So what were you going to say, Mike?
I'll make it even easier for the YouTube viewers. I'll send Greg a Spotify link and say, hey, Greg, put it in the description. And then
Why can't you
Great.
send the jitterymonkey.com link?
Because either way, I'll put 2 links in there.
Okay.
Make it easier. People who have Spotify, then they want to click on it, and it's automatic.
Well, hot damn. And speaking of hot damn, I don't drink that anymore. It's not good. It's overrated.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I had hot damn. But isn't hot damn basically just Fireball?
I don't know. I've never had Fireball.
So we'll change that, I guess.
I'm too old for Fireball. So, our topic of conversation this week, I reached out to Mike. I said, I don't want to drop this one on you. I want you to have some time to think about it. So I gave him a whole 12 hours, just about. And I said, give me like 1 or 2 characters from Marvel or DC. Like ideally, in the conception of the idea, it was 1 from Marvel, 1 from DC. But as it turns out, because I'm such a DC head, and because most of the comics that I've given Mike to read are also DC, our answers are all DC. But the question is, characters who are maybe secondary or tertiary, level characters as far as how well known they are, and if that you would want to see on screen. So obviously we're not talking about your Spider-Man, your X-Men, your Captain America's Avengers, your Justice League. We're looking for something else. So that's what we're going to do. And I think, Mike, you have 2?
Yeah.
And I also have 2. So I'm going to let you go first with one of yours, Mike.
All right. So, by the way, I'm making a guess right now that one or both of yours is some kind of lantern. Whether it be a red lantern, black lantern, purple haze lantern. There's all kinds of lanterns you can choose from. So
I will break your theory now and say no.
No, okay. So yeah, mine are both DC characters, and actually both of mine make an appearance in the comic book that I just read. Not just read, but I finished it today, which we'll talk about a little bit on the podcast. The comic book Multiversity. One they both make an appearance. One is featured more, but also the one that I'm going to talk about right now. I read a full comic book on him, a full graphic novel on him. I want to say it's an obscure a character. I was talking with Greg about this before the podcast. Maybe it's not, but I hadn't heard of this character. In fact, when I picked up this comic book, I didn't think it was Marvel or DC. I thought it was like, without rambling on more and more, the character that I'm talking about is Mr. Miracle.
Okay. That I was trying to rack my brain to try to think of who would have been in Multiversity that he also just read an entire graphic novel of. And Mr. Miracle was not one that was in my mind. So awesome. Yeah.
Now I will say in Multiversity, it was kind of funny because, I'll tell you, I talk about Multiversity on the podcast, but I didn't realize it was Mr. Miracle has no lines. It's Barda, who's his wife, I think, or sister, or I can't remember. There's definitely a difference between those two. Yeah, she has a line, or somebody says something to her, and it was funny because I was reading it. I was at Barda. I'm like, wait a minute, I know that character. Hold on.
He's connecting the dots, boys and girls.
Yeah. So yeah, it would just be interesting to see that character on screen. He kind of already is connected in a way because I think he's like the son of Apocalypse or something. Obviously, they've never mentioned him, but yeah, it would just be interesting to see him.
I believe this is where. And because I'm not going to verify this by looking it up, but I believe that Mr. Miracle is actually the son of the King of the New Gods, who was they had the child swap in order to broker peace between the New Gods and Apocalypse, and so I believe that Mr. Miracle was actually raised on Apocalypse as Darkseid's son.
Darkseid, yeah,
but also was like like in prison for most of his life. He's like, I don't give anything about this kid.
Basically, yeah. From what I remember, his childhood was like torture.
Yeah.
Throughout by and I forget her name now. Some kind of granny character.
Granny Goodness.
Granny Goodness, yeah. Yeah.
Not at all like what her character is.
No.
Maybe an opposite world.
I mean, she was a granny, but there was no goodness.
I was actually first introduced to that character in the Superman cartoon from the 90s. It was like the sequel. I don't know if sequel is not, but it was the same style as a Batman the Animated Series. So it was just Superman, and obviously it was a lot lighter because it's in Metropolis and not Gotham. But that's where I first became aware of like a lot of these. I mean, that was a gateway for me for a lot of the heroes that I've read about the last 10 or 15 years. So
nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear one of yours.
So I was actually finishing up the most recent, and I say this as of Friday, January 15th, which crap. Today's my dad's birthday, and I did not call him tonight so that we could sing happy birthday to him. I did see him this morning, dropped off a bunch of birthday cards and handmade ones for my son, obviously his grandson. So he's not watching this, but happy birthday, Dad. So the latest episode of Fat Man Beyond, they were talking about, who'd you like to see, like what side character do you think should have his own movie? And it's kind of the basis of our conversation, because I was thinking about it. I'm like, and they said, Dick Grayson, like, don't like Robin, but don't make the movie all about Batman and then Robin, but like have him in like the circus and with his family, and see like the good times and the bad times and the struggles, and maybe they fell in with the wrong people at some point and that's why they got killed. And then he kind of that moment from Batman Begins where Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon puts a coat on a young Bruce Wayne and says, hang in there type of kid, or do you need anything? That's like Bruce Wayne could be that, adopting him, making him his ward. And then like the last 10 minutes or whatever, you have the explanation of who Bruce Wayne is and things like that. That is not my answer as Robin, but it spawned this idea of circus performers. And I thought of Deadman, Boston Brand. And you almost could do a series for it because it's a little Quantum Leap-like, because he jumps into other people's bodies and then, he makes some comment that they will, be able to recognize, like, Brand, is that you? Type of thing. But just the Neil Adams did, I think, a 4-issue story a couple of years ago that I have, and I need to get to you. It was really good, but it kind of shows a little bit of the history of what happened to Boston Brand. His family, they were all, kind of high-flying trapeze artists, things like that, and he just didn't make it. But because of the nature of his life, they said, no, you can't really go to hell, you can't really go to heaven, you kind of hang out and be an apparition. So him, jumping in and out of the DC characters, I think would be a lot of fun.
So I know nothing about the Deadman character, so I looked it up. And Greg, do you know what what his team affiliations are? 7 Soldiers of Victory, Sentinels of Magic, Black Lantern Corps, and White Lantern Corps. I was correct. You did get a lantern. I knew it.
I think of him more in like Justice League Dark.
And that was the last one, just this week, Dark.
Yeah.
He, just for the little stuff that I know about him, I'll read about him one of these days. But he has the powers of invisibility, flight, and intangibility. He can instantly and completely possess any sentient being. I'm reading this off the superhero wiki, by the way. Credit to you, I guess. Reanimate the dead, resurrects the dead. I don't know the difference between those two words.
Reanimate, resurrect is, I mean, like there's like only been 2 people in the whole of humanity who've been resurrected. And But reanimate, I think, is like temporary. Like, did you ever watch? And I doubt you did because a lot of people didn't. But did you ever watch the Jonah Hex movie?
No.
Okay, first of all, it's worth a watch. I mean, it's not as bad. You get some John Malkovich chewing the scenes, and you get Josh Brolin as Jonah Hex. But he has the ability, like he was cursed or whatever, with the ability that if there's a dead body and he puts, he can, by touching it, he can bring it back to life and reanimate it and get information out of it. And then, they're like, oh, it's burning, I'm too hot. And then he puts a little soil on them and it cools them down because they're supposed to be underneath the earth type of thing. So I don't know if it's a true comic book power from his, but but it also has Michael Fassbender in it, and Michael Fassbender he's one of the best. He's a treasure. So
yes.
There you go. There's your very brief endorsement for Jonah Hex. Can't wait to see the comments after that.
Hey, maybe someone commented and they saw it and they liked it. Who knows? We usually get 1 or 2 comments per video.
And we
also
thank
35
you all.
subscribers. Yes, thank you. Yeah, feel free to write any comment you want. Even if you write a hate comment, we only had 1 of those so far, but if you write it, just gives us something to talk about next video.
If you keep it, if like constructive criticism, we can learn from it, and that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
So,
right. So my.
I was gonna say, what's your next one?
Yeah, my next one, like I said, this one also comes from Multiversity. This one came from the first couple pages, and the character, when I was reading it, I was like, wow, this character really popped out at me. And I was about 3/4 of the way through when Greg messaged me saying, let's find obscure characters to talk about. And I knew Mr. Miracle I was going to talk about because, that was in my mind. And then I'm like, this character, I want to see this character on screen. And if the character just happens to pop up at the end of the book as well, or in the graphic novel as well. And I think if you can have Rocket Raccoon in a movie, you can definitely have an 8-foot-tall, superpowered humanoid rabbit called Captain Carrot. I don't see why not. Rocket Raccoon. He set the stage for the rest of the animal characters. We can have him now. We can have a Captain Carrot who has to eat some kind of radioactive carrots every so often, or else he turns back into Rodney Rabbit. That's what I've learned.
So, question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Could this be animated? Because we also have had Spider-Ham.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have it animated if you want. You can have it, of course. You can have it, CGI. Although DC is not that great at CGI for mustache, So I don't know if you can't properly erase somebody's mustache for 30 minutes of film. I don't know how well you're going to do with an 8-foot-tall humanoid rabbit, but give it to Marvel. They do a good job.
I don't know. I still think the end of season 2 of Mandalorian with Spoiler's face could have looked a lot better.
Oh yes, that is very true. Yes.
Yeah. Suck it, Marvel.
Yeah. No, I don't know what Captain Carrot's powers are. I'm guessing super strength. Probably flight. So I was looking up a little bit of stuff, and he was part of a group called, or the comic book that he was in was Captain Carrot and his Amazing Zoo Crew. So there's a bunch of animals you could have in there.
I was gonna say that'd be. I feel like that'd be just a great, fun movie. Now the question is it the premise of it? Rabbit superhero means all ages, but how Rocket has just a little bit of edge to him. Like there's a world in where Captain Carrot's just like Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew is basically the boys with animals.
You could definitely make it like that. There's, and I don't think this spoils anything. I couldn't spoil the multiversity if I tried, really. But
I can't remember multiversity well enough to explain it.
there is pages where he gets decapitated, but he's still talking. Like his body still fights. And the only thing his head is worried about is, hey, I need to eat another carrot or else I'm going to lose my powers and I'm going to become a headless Rodney Rabbit. Yeah, so you could definitely go either way. You could go family friendly cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon. I don't have Saturday morning cartoons anymore. That's a thing of the past. But you could do cartoon, or you could do slightly more edgy if you wanted to.
Okay. All right. Captain Carrot. I didn't expect that one at all. So my last one is also from like the Justice League Dark universe. And I don't know why, except for the fact that I love the period from which like this character originates. It's no secret that I don't want to say I have a fascination with demons, but I like that dichotomy of, like angels and demons, heaven and hell, things like that. So because this character originates in the Middle Ages and has ties to a demon, and kind of is a demon, I would go with Jason Blood / Etrigan the Demon. Jason Blood is the human, I don't know, I want to call it husk or containment unit for Etrigan, who speaks only in rhymes, which is, pretty cool and unique, and would be a different, display or way of showcasing some dialogue. But I like that Arthurian, time period, Arthurian legends. King, what is it? The Arthurian movie that came out a couple of years ago with Charlie Hunnam. Jude Law played the king, and it wasn't called King Arthur, but it might have just been, I don't know. But I'm in for all that stuff. I like, that movie set in that time period. I have lamented for a long time that we are yet to actually see a real, true, like Arthurian legend, trilogy. And I think you could do it. I think you could do, the Sword in the Stone type of, Arthur and Merlin, where he kind of has to find him, pull the sword, become King of England. Then you like the second part of that. The second movie is, the trials and things that he has, where you can introduce Guinevere and Lancelot and other aspects of the Arthurian legend, and then the third would be his death, his going to Avalon and things like that. I think there's a really great trilogy there. I just don't know anybody in Hollywood willing to make it. It makes me sad.
Well, hold on, just really stop you there. I think you're the only person that wants to see that, because they've made several attempts at King Arthur, Merlin, Sword in the Stone type of movies, and they all lose lots of money. Now, granted, it could be like if they were to do a low budget, then I think they could make their money back. But for some reason, they always do these, $200 million, probably not that much, but, $200 million ones, and it makes, $16 million. Yeah.
I think you're underestimating that Charlie Hunnam's movie box office return just a little bit. He's going to the IMDb or the Google, folks.
I don't even know what the name. I have to look up Charlie Hunnam first. I know who he is, but I have to look up him first, and then to figure out what the movie's called.
Right. Anyway, back to Jason Blood. Who is, because Etrigan the Demon is like shares a body with Jason Blood. He's been alive since the time of Arthur, so he's in contemporary world as well. So you can tell that story in two different times, and have either in like chronologically, like there's the and I don't want to call it a symbiote, but there's the merging of the man and the demon, and then throughout history, or you can tell a contemporary story, and then you using flashbacks find out how we got there. A little bit like Captain Marvel, except we'd want it to be good. I'm kidding.
Captain Marvel wasn't bad, and I say this, I rewatched it again in the last couple months. Wasn't bad, wasn't great though.
I do think there's a way to tell that movie that, and I think we've talked about it before, and I think we're blatantly stealing somebody else's idea. But if you just tell the movie in chronological order, from the little girl who's has to get up off the back on her feet at the playground to the teenage girl playing softball or whatever, and then the Air Force pilot or Navy pilot or whatever branch of the military she was to be a pilot, and then all the tragedy that befalls her to where she is, and then see the unleashing of the power. I think if you tell it in that chronological story, then otherwise we already know everything she doesn't know.
Right.
And it takes away some of that emotional connection. But anyway, after getting the demon, Jason Blood story, I'm in for it. Let's make it happen.
I saw the picture of him because I had to look him up. Very demon-like, very evil. I would love to see it. Now, the name of the movie was King Arthur: Legend of the Sword.
I was right. There was a king and an Arthur and a sword in there.
Yes. The budget was $175 million. Now, I only know this from listening to people that are smarter than me. That means that doesn't cover marketing.
Right.
In order to get your money back, in order to break even, you need to make double that. So whatever 175 times 2 is. 10 million? I don't know. Math isn't my strong suit. What? 450?
350.
350. Okay.
Okay, so and you said, trust me on that one, and you said that the budget was 200 million and it only made like 16 at the box office. That's the part that I'm disputing. I'm disputing its box office take. I think you underestimate it.
Yeah, well, I was being funny. I make funny jokes sometimes. But okay, so it needs to be 300. Okay, but here's my point, because you were talking about how Hollywood doesn't make it and stuff. I'll tell you why Hollywood does, or why they should not make it, because of this. So it should make $350 million just to break even. They're not making money. That's just to break even. $148 million is what it made. Box office. 148. No, that's not good, Greg. That's way low.
That was a Warner Brothers picture?
Yeah, I believe so.
So I think, again, I liked Charlie Hunnam's performance in the movie. I don't dislike him as King Arthur. It was a little more grown up than that introductory movie has to be. I mean, you have Arthur grows up essentially in a brothel, and again, not that there's anything wrong with brothels. If you own a brothel, more power to you. But I still feel like if you take that Disney classic animated Disney cartoon, which sounds redundant, film, Sword in the Stone, you take out some of the songs, add in, I don't know, a little bit more, story, narrative, things like that. If you tell that movie first, and then you work up into, I'm telling you, Mike, it's a box office hit waiting, but somebody has to grab the reins.
Tell you what, I know we're running out of time here on the YouTube video, and we got to start our podcast soon. I will go down the list of King Arthur, Merlin, Sword in the Stone movies, and I'll look up their budget and what they made, and we'll see if any of them made. The only one I could think probably made money is the animated Sword in the Stone.
Merlin was a TV show, so that one doesn't count.
Okay, no. I'll just movies only.
So you're talking about Sword in the Stone, King Arthur, Camelot. Camelot made bank, I'm telling you.
I don't remember the Camelot the movie.
That's for next week. We'll come back. Stay tuned next week.
Stay tuned.
Mike's going to have spreadsheets and graphs for us.
Yeah.
And he can do it because we can share screens and he can say, now, if you see here.
Yes.
So that's coming up next week. Mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting a movie-by-movie breakdown of the successes and failures of the King Arthur story at the box office. So before we get to that part, we want to know in the comments what kind of secondary or tertiary comic book characters, and again, we'll keep it from the big two right now, so Marvel or DC, would you like to see on the screen that something that maybe like a Guardians of the Galaxy-esque, or maybe it was a property you hadn't heard of, and then all of a sudden it's in the hands of the right people, and it is a household name. You know, like I'd say even my mom knows who Groot is, but that's a lie. My mom doesn't know who Groot is.
Hey, neither does my mom.
Well, she should, because she's watching this video.
Well, maybe she'll. I don't know. I don't think she's ever seen Guardians of the Galaxy.
Maybe she'll surprise us and drop some crazy obscure comic character, and who knows? Or she's probably Googling right now, crazy obscure comic character. Anyway, so let us know in the comments what outside of the box, comic IPs you'd like to see on the screen, and let's just have a little conversation in the comment section. So for the co-host of the year, Mike Luther, I'm Greg Mahochko. This is Nerds United on YouTube. We're out of time, but we always like to say, be kind.
And rewinds.